They said, "I'm sorry." They looked you in the eyes. They seemed sincere. But something feels off. Days later, nothing's changed. The same behavior repeats. And you're left wondering if that apology was real or just a performance to get you off their back. Here's what most people miss. Real apologies and fake apologies use almost identical words. The difference isn't in what they say, it's in what comes after. And if you can't tell the difference, you'll keep accepting hollow words while nothing actually improves. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to spot a fake apology by breaking down the psychological red flags that reveal someone's true intentions. We'll explore why "I'm sorry you feel that way" isn't actually an apology, how manipulators use tears and emotion to avoid accountability, and the specific language patterns that distinguish genuine remorse from damage control. You'll learn what real repair looks like, why changed behavior is the only apology that matters, and how to stop accepting words without action. So stick around, because once you know these signs, you'll never waste time on another fake apology again. Here's the thing about fake apologies. They're designed to end the conversation, not repair the damage. A real apology is about acknowledging harm, taking responsibility, and committing to change. But a fake apology? It's about making you stop being upset so the person can go back to doing whatever they want without consequence. It's manipulation disguised as accountability. Psychologically, apologies serve a crucial function in relationships. They rebuild trust. They show empathy. They demonstrate that someone values the relationship more than their ego. But when apologies become performative, when they're just words to shut you up, they're worse than no apology at all. Because now you're expected to move on, to forgive, to pretend everything's fine while the actual problem remains untouched. And here's why this matters. If you keep accepting fake apologies, you're training people that words without change are enough. You're teaching them they can hurt you, say sorry, and repeat the cycle forever. Understanding the difference between real and fake apologies protects your time, your energy, and your self-respect. First red flag: they apologize for your feelings, not their actions. Listen carefully to the actual words. "I'm sorry you feel that way." "I'm sorry if you were hurt." "I apologize that you took it the wrong way." Notice what's missing? Any acknowledgement of what they actually did. They're placing responsibility on your reaction, not their behavior. That's not an apology. That's deflection with polite words. Picture this. Someone says something cruel to you. When you confront them, they say, "I'm sorry you're so sensitive." They just apologized for your sensitivity, not for being cruel. They're implying the problem is how you receive their words, not that their words were harmful. You're left feeling like you overreacted instead of them taking accountability for impact. Psychologically, this is called non-apology apologizing. It has the structure of an apology without the substance. It lets them appear reasonable while actually invalidating your experience. They get credit for apologizing without having to face what they did wrong. And if you accept this kind of apology, you're accepting the premise that your feelings are the problem, not their behavior. Here's what a real apology sounds like. "I'm sorry I said that. It was hurtful and uncalled for. I should never have spoken to you that way." See the difference? They name the specific action. They acknowledge it was wrong. They take full ownership. No conditions. No deflection. Just accountability. If someone can't do that, their apology is worthless. Second red flag. There's a "but" that cancels everything before it. "I'm sorry I yelled, but you weren't listening." "I apologize for being late, but traffic was terrible." "I'm sorry I hurt you, but you did this thing first." The moment you hear "but" in an apology, everything before it becomes meaningless. Because what they're really saying is, "I'm not actually sorry. Here's why I was justified." Imagine your partner forgot your birthday. They say, "I'm sorry I forgot, but I've been so stressed at work." That's not taking responsibility. That's explaining away the behavior. The "but" is them telling you they had a good reason, which means they don't think they need to genuinely apologize. They think the circumstance excuses the harm. The psychology here is subtle but important. Real apologies separate explanation from justification. You can explain context without using it to avoid accountability. "I'm sorry I forgot your birthday. I know how much that hurt you. I've been overwhelmed at work," which isn't an excuse, but I want you to understand why I've been distracted. It won't happen again. That acknowledges harm first, explains context second, and commits to change third. The but version does none of that. The wake-up call: when someone follows an apology with "but," they're not apologizing. They're defending. And you don't need to accept it. A real apology stands alone. It doesn't require justification. If they genuinely feel remorse, they won't immediately pivot to why they were right to do what they did. Trust that pattern. Third red flag: they focus on their intentions instead of the impact. I didn't mean to hurt you. That wasn't my intention. You know I would never deliberately do that. They want you to focus on what they meant rather than what they did. And while intentions matter in some contexts, they don't erase harm. A fake apology centers their intentions to minimize your pain. Think about someone who consistently shows up late to plans with you. When you express that it makes you feel unimportant, they say, "I never meant to make you feel that way. You know you matter to me." But they keep being late. Their intention might be good, but their impact is hurtful. And they're using intentions as a shield against accountability. Psychologically, this is called intent versus impact. Both matter, but when someone prioritizes their intent to avoid facing their impact, that's a problem. It centers them in a situation where you're the one who is harmed. It makes you responsible for validating that they're a good person instead of them being responsible for repairing what they broke. Here's the truth: good intentions don't undo bad outcomes. If someone steps on your foot, it doesn't matter if they meant to or not. Your foot still hurts. A real apology acknowledges the hurt first. I hurt you and I'm sorry. I didn't intend to, but that doesn't change that I did. What can I do to make this right? That's accountability. Anything less is just ego protection. Fourth red flag: they make themselves the victim. This is manipulation at its finest. You confront them about something they did, and suddenly they're crying. They're the one who's hurt. They're devastated that you think they could do such a thing. Before you know it, you're comforting them instead of them addressing your pain. That's not an apology. That's emotional hijacking. Picture a scenario where you tell your friend they betrayed your confidence by sharing something private. Instead of apologizing, they burst into tears. "I can't believe you think I'm that kind of person. I'm such a terrible friend. I hate myself." Now you're in the position of reassuring them that they're not terrible while your original hurt gets completely sidelined. The psychology of this is called DARVO: deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. They flip the script so thoroughly that you forget you were the one who was wronged. Their distress becomes more important than your boundary. And if you're an empathetic person, you'll fall for it every time because you can't stand to see them suffer, even when their suffering is a performance to avoid accountability. The reality check: genuine remorse can include emotion, but it doesn't redirect focus. If someone's apology turns into you having to manage their feelings about being called out, that's manipulation. A real apology keeps the focus on repair, not on making you feel bad for bringing up the issue. Protect yourself from this tactic. Fifth red flag: nothing changes after the apology. This is the ultimate test. Words mean nothing without behavior change. If someone apologizes but keeps repeating the same harmful action, the apology was just noise. They said what you needed to hear to get you to stay or stop being upset, but they had no intention of actually changing. Imagine someone who repeatedly talks over you in conversations. You tell them it's frustrating. They apologize sincerely, you believe them, and then next conversation it happens again. And again. Each time followed by another apology. At some point you have to recognize the apology is just a tool to reset the situation so they can keep doing what they want. Psychologically, this reveals that the person values their comfort over your well-being. Changing behavior is hard. It requires self-awareness, effort, and genuine care about impact. Saying sorry is easy. It costs nothing. People who give fake apologies know this. They know the right words to say to make you feel heard temporarily, but they're not willing to do the actual work of being different. Here's the hard truth: the only real apology is changed behavior. Everything else is just conversation. If someone says they're sorry but nothing improves, stop accepting the apology. Start watching their actions. People show you who they are through patterns, not promises. And someone who repeatedly apologizes without change is showing you they don't respect you enough to actually modify their behavior. Sixth red flag, they rush you to forgive and move on. Real apologies give you space to process. Fake apologies come with pressure to immediately accept and pretend everything's fine. I said I'm sorry, what more do you want? Are you really going to hold this against me? I apologized, so we're good now, right? They're not interested in your healing timeline. They just want their discomfort to end. Think about someone who violated a significant boundary. They apologize, and when you're still hurt the next day, they get frustrated. How long are you going to be mad about this? I already said sorry. They're treating your pain like an inconvenience they've already addressed. But hurt doesn't disappear the moment someone apologizes. Processing takes time. The psychology here is about control. When someone rushes your forgiveness, they're prioritizing their emotional relief over your emotional repair. They don't want to sit in the discomfort of having hurt you. They don't want to experience consequences. So they use the apology as a get-out-of-jail-free card and expect immediate absolution. The truth you need to hear: you don't owe anyone immediate forgiveness. An apology is their responsibility. Forgiveness is yours on your timeline. If someone can't respect that you need time to rebuild trust, their apology wasn't about repair. It was about control. Real remorse is patient. It understands that trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. So what can you actually do when you receive a fake apology? First, trust your gut. If an apology feels off, it probably is. Don't gaslight yourself into accepting words that don't match actions. Second, look for the pattern. One imperfect apology doesn't make someone a manipulator, but repeated fake apologies reveal character. And third, set clear expectations. Tell them what accountability actually looks like. If they can't meet that standard, you have information about whether this relationship is worth maintaining. Bottom line, a real apology includes acknowledgement of specific harm, genuine remorse without deflection, and changed behavior over time. Anything less is just damage control. So here's my question. What's the worst fake apology you've ever received? How did you realize it wasn't genuine? Share in the comments. And if this video helped you see your situation more clearly, hit that like button and subscribe for more psychology insights. Up next, watch my video on Am I the Problem? Self-awareness test. Remember, you deserve real accountability, not just pretty words. Stop accepting apologies that don't come with change. Your peace depends on it.